I discovered that a pair of eyes outside my window had been staring at me. I reached over and pulled the curtains open, scanning the street with my gaze. All I could see was complete darkness inside the old house across the way. Ever since I'd been renting this apartment, I had never seen any lights on in that house across the street. What made me even more curious was wondering what kind of person actually lived in that house. The next day when I left for work, as soon as I stepped out of the apartment building, I saw an ambulance parked across the street. Crowds of onlookers had gathered on both sides of the road. When I watched the medical personnel wheel out a corpse from that old house across the way, I quickly approached an elderly man in the crowd to ask what was happening. From the old man's account, I learned that the medical personnel had discovered the remains of a man who had been dead for 30 years inside that house. Everyone had previously assumed the house had been vacant all this time. Nobody could have imagined such a thing was hidden inside. Since the mystery of the house had been solved, my curiosity faded away as well. That day, I suddenly received a phone call asking me to come to a law firm. There was an unexpected inheritance waiting for me. What struck me as strange was that the inheritance I was receiving was actually that old house across from my apartment. The house's owner was named Andre, but I had absolutely no idea who this person was. According to the lawyer, over 30 years ago, this person had sealed the house keys along with his will at the law firm. He had specifically requested that the lawyer open it on June 1st of this year. In the will, Andre had asked the lawyer to visit his home, and it was only when the lawyer arrived that he discovered the old man's remains. After explaining this, the lawyer pushed the will toward me. My name was indeed written on it. At the bottom of the will was a biblical chapter reference with a red door drawn beside it. I then followed the lawyer to that house. I discovered that the chair where the deceased had been sitting faced directly toward my apartment window. I looked up the biblical passage referenced in the will. Although I didn't understand the meaning of the verse, I was certain the homeowner must have been a devout believer.
I then called City Hall, wanting to learn more information about this house. Strangely enough, aside from Andre's property purchase record, there was no other information available. As for Andre himself, the only thing I could find online was a book he had published 30 years ago. Although I had so many questions, I couldn't find answers for the time being. I still moved into that old house. The first thing I did after moving in was to tear off all those old wallpapers from the walls. I was surprised to discover the wallpaper had several layers. Aside from the surface layer, every layer underneath